Hi, this is Jill. Welcome to the Life After podcast, where we talk about moving from surviving to thriving. This podcast is for anyone who wants to learn, grow, to get tips and tricks about how to inspire you to become the person you want to be, and get clarity about exactly what you want in life. This is also the place to be if you want to be lifted up and encouraged to go out and do great work in the world. What has happened in your past does not have to define who you are today or who you become in the future. And in fact, what has happened to you in the past should, can, and will shape who you want to be. This podcast is about bringing people together. It's about connecting all of you, helping you identify where you are in your process. What do you need to feel more engaged and alive in your life, more connected to the people in your circle? This is a community of those who are looking to improve our world in the way that is most meaningful to them. Why is this important? Because how we show up really matters. Bringing more service, kindness, and love into the world is vital right now. The only way to make sense out of change is to plunge into it, move with it, and join the dance. Alan Watts. All great changes are preceded by chaos. Deepak Chopra. The changes we dread may contain our salvation. Barbara Kingsolver. Only I can change my life. No one can do it for me. Carol Burnett. There is nothing permanent except change. Heraclitus. I alone cannot change the world, but I can cast a stone across the water to create many ripples. Mother Theresa. True life is lived when tiny changes occur. Leo Tolstoy. The most beautiful and profound way to change yourself is to accept yourself completely, as imperfectly as you are. Maxime Legace. So many quotes in this episode. As I sat down to write this episode, I realized just how passionate I am about this topic. For so many years of my life, I carried a victim mentality that life happened to me. In my mid-20s, I had a therapist suggest that I shift my thinking and remove the to me from the end of my sentences and thoughts. And I really credit her with cracking that door of possibility open for me so many years ago. It did shift my thinking and allowed me to start seeing the world differently. And it was one of the many, many changes I've made in my life to become the person I am today, someone so vastly different than I was then. In this episode, we are going to talk about change and transition. I hope that this episode sheds some light for you on what change means to you and cracks open your door of possibility. Enjoy. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's because my birthday's in June, or maybe because school is over and every year there's a group of kids and young adults graduating. But to me, June is a time of change and transition. And maybe it's just the realization that the year is half over. And I think about what I've already done, how far I've come, and what more I want to do. Mostly, I think about change a lot every June. And this year has been no different. Some years, there are lots of changes going on. Others, not so much. I went into this year with the intention of really doing a lot, accomplishing a lot in my life and in my business. So as a mid-year check-in, I went into this June really thinking about looking what I've done so far this year, how far I had really come, and focusing on how I can make the most of the other half of the year. We really can do so much in 6 months if we're intentional and focused and are really trying. And so with that in mind, I thought I'd share some great ideas about how you can make the most of the rest of your 2024. First, we have to talk about how most people are terrified of change. Really, change is so scary for some people. If you are someone who considers change scary and are resistant to it, I really, really invite you to consider a reframe. Change is happening around us all the time. The easiest place to see this is in the seasons. Even in places like Southern California, where I spent more than 20 years, there are seasonal shifts. And we need these shifts. We need a season of quiet, like in the winter, in order to regroup and get ready for our next period of growth. We need some time where our actions might feel kind of intermittent, the ups and downs of weather in the spring, like when it's raining on and off, to help those seeds that we've planted. We need the focused action of the summer sun so what we've planted and watered can sprout and bloom and ultimately allow us to benefit from the fruits of our labor. And finally, we need time, like in the fall, to reflect upon all those actions so far, to clean up, decide what worked and what didn't, and plan for what's next. Some of this analogy is really badly tied to a farmer's growing season. And for those of us that have spent all of our lives in cities, it may seem different because so often when working for businesses, it feels as if we're in the action, the go, go, go state all of the time. Even in that case, even in the case of businesses that are go, go, go all of the time, even those businesses are constantly changing. They are looking at things to do differently that can improve their business, their relationship with their customer or client, and even their bottom line. Now, it may seem like I'm digressing a little bit. The key here is that in so many areas of our lives, even when we aren't consciously thinking about it, change is happening all the time. Take a minute and think about what's changing in your life. And more importantly, are you embracing it or are you struggling against it? What transition might you be facing that is encouraging a change in your life? A kid starting or ending school? A change in a job or a career? A divorce? A change in your health? More than one of these things happening at the same time can really complicate how we're feeling about change. The quote above by Deepak Chopra, "All great changes are preceded by chaos," while I really like the point he makes, I'm not sure I 100% agree with it. If we're paying attention in our lives and are willing to be open to possibilities that we didn't necessarily consider, we can experience deep change without it being surrounded by chaos. This would be what Oprah refers to as the universe whispering to us. If we can get quiet and listen to that whisper, or even the universe talking to us, we don't have to wait for the universe to create total chaos and hit us over the head with a rock before we start to make those changes. It's because so many of us wait so long that change becomes scary. When you're thinking about that reframe, any fear you feel around change, really think about that quote from Mother Theresa. We have big problems in the world right now. I started this podcast entirely from a place for how to help others. And there are a million ways to do that. And one of the amazing, brilliant things in life is that we each have the ability and way to find our own path. And yet, one consistency that comes directly from Mother Teresa's quote, whatever we choose to do in life creates a ripple effect. What do you want your ripple effect to be? And what kind of change needs to occur in your life in order for your intended ripple effect to happen? Also, when you use reframing, and it's a really useful tool, consider reframing your view that change has to be painful. It doesn't. It may take a little work. It may take some focus. It may take some intention. But change doesn't, in and of itself, have to be painful. It's only painful if we decide it has to be painful and then act as if it's painful. What is truly painful? Staying stuck in something, a relationship, a job, a state of mind that isn't right for you, or that is hurting you, or that you are still doing only because you're afraid to change and grow. What I can tell you for certain is that you have the ability to create the life you want. Yes, it takes time. Yes, it takes effort. Yes, it takes willpower and way power. Concepts we learned about in episode number 14 in season number 1 on hope. Yes, it takes getting support. Yes, it takes acknowledgement and growth. Yes, it takes doing things that might seem out of the box for us at that moment. And unequivocally, you can do it. You can change your life and create exactly what you want. I've seen it done again and again. After years of neglect and narcissistic abuse, I did it myself. So, how do you embrace change? What does it take to not just willingly, but openly, and dare I say, excitedly move through the inevitable transitions of your life? Some of them will be easier than others, for sure. The first suggestion I would make is to acknowledge that change is going to happen regardless of how we feel about it. So why not lean in? Why not invite it to work for you instead of against you? There are so many changes in our lives, often that we refer to as challenges or obstacles, that if we just reframed them as change and then acknowledged that it was okay, that it was going to be okay, how much faster would it be to move through and get to what we wanted? Try this acknowledgement out on something small to start if you really don't like change. So, for example, let's say you go to the market to get strawberries, your all-time favorite fruit, and they don't have any. I don't know, try some kiwi or mango or persimmons. Or you go to a movie and you intend to see one movie and it's sold out. Pick another one. You might really enjoy it. These seem like really simplistic examples, I know. I invite you to consider the million decisions we make each week or month where we lean into those things that we already know or are comfortable with. Sometimes these tendencies to do the same thing again and again are because we aren't comfortable with change. The more we turn left instead of right, just simply because we usually turn right, the more opportunity we have to acknowledge that doing something a little different, that change, works for us and for our lives. And that's a really good thing. One example I started to think about was that once my kids were out of the house, what was I going to do? Being an empty nester was really scary to me. Maybe because I'm single and it really signified for the first time in my life I'd be alone. Sometimes, frankly, that feels exhilarating. And at other times, it feels completely terrifying. When we moved to Washington, I really started to think about how I wanted my life to look when the kids were adults. How did I want to spend my time? I definitely wanted friends in the new town and absolutely more travel in my life, more time to read and make sure I'm active. Over the last few years, I've been incorporating each of those things into my life a little more each week and month and year. That way, when Logan graduates next year, it won't come as a complete shock. So practice. We talk about that a lot for shifting our mindset. So it also goes for leaning into change. Practice a lot. Think about those changes you want to see in your life and then go about making them. They can be slow, like what I just described, or they can be instantaneous. You can just decide to change something in your life and, well, change it. My daughter recently got married, and while I knew it was happening for a long time, I really didn't emotionally connect to it until a day or two before the wedding. And oh man, the day of, wow, did it hit me. All of the changes that I knew were taking place for her, and then along with all of the changes that took place in my own life when I got married, flooded back to me as well. Sometimes we can't always anticipate how change will make us feel, so practicing won't necessarily help. And that's okay. In that case, feel your feelings. Share them with someone you trust if that helps. Write about it or move. Get some exercise. And know that always, always, everything changes. Life changes. So this will too. And once again, soon, you'll be okay. I'm always here to help. Please reach out to me if you would like some additional support, would like me to come speak to your organization or school, would like to be a guest on the show. There's a link in the show notes for how to reach me, or go to my website at locatecoaching.com. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to today's episode on change. Remember, as Abraham Maslow says, quote, "In any given moment, we have two options: to step forward into growth or step back into safety," end quote. How do you want to live? Make the decision today that change will benefit you and lean in. I promise you, you'll be glad you did. I appreciate you sharing these episodes. This podcast is a powerful resource for anyone that is looking to make change in their lives. So please help me grow by sharing, liking, and subscribing. There will be new episodes on the second and fourth Wednesday every month. I promise that every episode, I'm going to show up and help support you in your individual journey. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll see you soon.